Guess what? Most people end up making a dime instead of making a living. That's what Vicky Robin claims in her book, Your Money, Your Life. She also goes on to say that money is something that you trade your life energy for. And yet so many of us are chasing financial independence, financial freedom. But how many levels are there for us to cross before we hit our target? Let's start at the very beginning. The first one is dependence. This is typically children, young kids, and sometimes adults who depend on someone else to provide for them financially. So as a child, you of course will not have any money of your own. Your parents are taking care of you, or your family is taking care of you. But here's what's interesting. Recently, I read that 50% of UK adults actually rely on parents for some of their financial needs. And in fact, as per ONS reports, 1/5 of adults report borrowing more money compared to a year ago, and fewer expect to save in 2023. So that tells us very clearly that people who are dependent on someone else to provide for their financial need is increasing. Even in adulthood, if 50% of adults in the UK are actually depending on someone else to provide for them financially, this is probably quite concerning. And most of society is actually at this level. But of course, this is just where it starts. The next level is survival, where people are not necessarily dependent on someone else to provide for their financial needs, but they are actually living paycheck to paycheck. So money comes in, you spend everything on your food, on your rent, on your bills, and you have no money left over to save. So you literally are living paycheck to paycheck. So these would sometimes be early career professionals who have just started working, and it makes sense because they would be earning a lot lesser in the earlier years of their career. They sometimes also are actually high income earners, because sometimes high-income earners don't have the fiscal responsibility and discipline of actually increasing their rate of savings. So this could literally be anyone who's earning $30,000, $40,000 a year, all the way through to earning $100,000 a year. A six-figure income doesn't always make sure that you are beyond survival. In fact, if you look at the average family, you'll see 2.5 kids. You also will probably see a partner who has needed to step back from work because childcare costs are unaffordable, which leads with one sole breadwinner in many families, and this is recipe for being in that survival bracket. Next up is financial stability. This is when you are a bit more stable financially, you worry less about money, you have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up in a bank account in liquid cash. For example, if your salary is 50,000 and you know that your living expenses sum up to about 40,000 a year, leaving you 10,000 a year in savings. For you to be financially stable, I would consider that you have about $10,000 to $20,000 saved up in a bank account liquid. If you were actually spending 40,000 just to live, bare minimum, no luxury. This is also the point when people start thinking about saving up for a house, buying a house, or start planning their retirement. They start putting aside a bit of money towards their retirement. The next level up is financial security. This is when people start thinking about growing their wealth. People start thinking about an emergency savings pot of 6 to 12 months instead of the minimum of 3 to 6 months. And with personal finance, I love being a bit more conservative because you don't know if you lose a job, you don't know when the next recession strikes, you don't know when you'll have an emergency medical expenditure. So this is when even if 1 or 2 of those incidents strike you, you are still secure. You are not waking up worried about money, or you are not keeping up late in the night worrying about where your paycheck will come from or whether you'll be able to stay afloat in retirement or not. So this is the level where people have mastered not only how to earn a high income, but also how to reduce your propensity to consume, meaning how much your living expenditure is. At this level, people are typically earning say 200k, and also have figured out that they need only 120k to survive and live a whole and happy life. The next level is financial independence, and this is in fact the level that so many of us wish to aspire for. In fact, the FIRE community, or the financially independent retired early community, has a lot to say. At this level, people don't need to work anymore. They might still be employed, they might still want to work, they might still do the odd jobs here and there, but people are really working because they want to rather than because they have to. And this is where the 4% rule also comes in. The 4% rule says that you are financially free if you can sustain your lifestyle on 4% withdrawal of your investment portfolio every year. But how do you get to this level? So to get to this level, typically you would want to save up and create an investment portfolio that is 25 times your annual expenses. So say, for example, continuing with our previous example of a person earning 50,000 and their living expenses are 40,000. For you to get to financial independence, you need to multiply that 40,000 with 25, which is $1 million. You need $1 million to be financially independent. After that, you can continue working, you can continue making money, but you don't have to. If you chose to not work for that boss that you don't get along with, you can put in your papers and you don't have to look for a job immediately. You can take a rest because you have designed your life in a way that it works for you instead of you working for money. The next level is financial freedom. How is this different to financial independence? This is different because with financial independence, only covering for the basic living expenses. We are not covering for luxuries. We are not covering for our dream holidays. We are not covering for the destination weddings. We are not covering for a parent's anniversary trip or anything like that. So when you have more money than you have at the financial independence level, you can afford these luxuries without having to worry about money. And what you are really worried about is how do you spend your time? Where is the best use of your time and what is the value that you can add to the world? So this is actually where most of us can aspire to get to, because if we have figured out how much is enough, we don't have to live a life trying to make a dime. We can actually make a life trying to live, trying to be our fullest and happiest selves. So this is the point where you consider where should you be spending your time, doing what, and you can afford the fine luxuries in life without worrying about money. And then there's the final level, which is financial abundance, which is an excellent thing to aspire for, because abundance, in my opinion, truly resides in our hearts and heads. Of course, if you wanted to have a benchmark monetarily, I would say you probably would have needed to build a startup and IPO'd, or you are already born into quite a wealthy family that has had generational wealth for quite a while. I believe that you can be financially abundant even when you have financial stability, even when you are at the level of financial security, and definitely when you are at financial independence and financial freedom, because abundance is a state of mind. If you are really tuned into what is it that you want to do, what is it that your unique strengths are, you can choose to make your life more abundant, whether that be by contributing more of those skills that you have in abundance to the world, or abundantly spending money on things that you love. For example, luxury clothes or a trip across the world, or maybe charitable activities. Whatever it is, I think there is a way to find abundance in your everyday life, which is why we call this channel the Abundance Psyche, because to me, financial abundance really means that you being fulfilled in your life with how much ever money that you are making, being wise about it, being conscious, being aware of your spending, but also being aware of your income, expenditure, your likes, your dislikes, and where in the world it is that you think you are uniquely placed to help. Because truly, if we are not living from that place of financial abundance, we will just end up making a dime instead of making a living. And I don't know about you, but I for sure don't want to trade my energy for something that I don't really and truly value and appreciate. Money is just one form of energy trade. There are so many more. For example, fulfillment. For example, going out and dancing in the rain, building sandcastles on the beach. And that tells you that summer's coming. On that note, if you enjoyed this, please do consider subscribing because it does help us out a lot. You are here to learn more about how to make more money, how to make money work for you. So if that's something that you are interested in, check out the videos that I will link up here or here. And I'll see you the next time. Bye.